everybody. Kia ora koutou whānau. Welcome back to Big Hairy News. Magenta, what's up?
The sky. Got him. Hey.
Did you like my Mr. Mime dance just then?
I was like, what is this reminding me of? Yes, Mr. Mime. There we go.
Yeah.
That was a
Yeah.
throwback. I haven't watched
You
Pokemon.
gotta bring the millennial 90s kid in there. Otherwise it's not our spin on
Yeah,
things, right?
right? It's Pat in a different font, and the font is Pokemon.
Speaking of, do you like our new usernames? I'm Patems.
Padams.
Padams. If you didn't get the Pat and the M's, and this is Magenta.
Yeah, someone in the comments, I think on Monday, posted this. So I stole someone else's idea, but shot whoever wrote that. I saw it.
Hey, if it's a good idea we're stealing, it's a great idea, right?
I mean,
That's a saying,
that's happened a lot. That's happened a lot. I mean,
how are we doing in the chats? How is the chat doing on this beautiful Wednesday night? I didn't realize it was a Wednesday. I was like,
oh yeah.
Wednesday? No, it's Tuesday. No, it's Wednesday. Tomorrow's
Yeah, it is
Thursday.
Wednesday.
It's one of those weeks where you just don't feels a bit weird. They're all
Yeah, we're
melded
still in
together.
that holiday kind of haze of like it's
Yeah.
kind of the new year, but it's also kind of not because there's also a lot of people who are still on holiday.
Yep. No, I assume most people are back to work this week, if not definitely next week.
See, Cameron's already a day ahead. Like, is it
Amaran.
Tuesday? Is it Thursday? Surprise.
Yeah, no, it's that's all right. We're getting there. We're getting there. It's I have to say it's been a bit of a slow news day. So I do apologize if some of my headlines I've got up there are not to your taste, but please feel free to share or mention anything that you think we've forgotten. But otherwise, we're going to chat a little bit about the US. Obviously, there's Donald Trump coming to the office next week. Yay. Yeah. Which I'm sure that'll just start the year off on so much news before our parliament really cracks into it. Then there was a wee bit of a controversy. Andrew Tate's back in the news, which is my favourite topic. If you ever want to be a target to someone, I want to be a target of Andrew Tate's, clearly. Fun. And then there's just a little bit more. I would like to say I set a trend. Trend's probably not the right word, but I got on there first about the discourse around New Zealand and wildfires and what we should be looking out for here. So I'm going to add a few extra things to what I talked about on Monday. I didn't set a trend. I'm sure people have been talking about it. People have just been busy on holiday, so.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh no, the world's on fire, literally.
Maybe we should pay attention because we also have lots of wildfires. And also, there are just tons of wildfires here in New Zealand at the moment.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
So,
I started looking up fires, and then I saw all these articles. I was like, okay, the country's on fire.
Yep. We've got the Waitakere bushfire. We've got the Coromandel.
Yep.
I think there's one in Taupo that just started. Yep. Taupo, sorry. It's just kicked off as well. I'm sure there's others that I'm probably not aware of right this second.
Oh yeah,
but yeah.
I'm sure.
So yeah. So it's something we should all be paying attention to. But I found some stuff that might be of help to people that might be interested in. So yeah. Anything you wanted to chat about as well, Magenta? Anything on your list?
Oh yeah, I mean, I did see that there is I do have some stuff because I was actually looking at the submissions Parliament website, and man, they stacked out 5 submissions due on one day. So we love when you've got 5 different assignments due on the same day. But also a really important bill that I think I'd vaguely heard about before Christmas, but I saw again about today that there is a new bill around stalking and harassment to try and actually have ways to reprimand people for it and actually change the law so that we can stop people from being so fucking creepy.
Yeah, ideally.
Yeah. Like that'll be great. So yeah,
It's
I
probably
mean,
good
there's
for
a bit of
society.
there's a bit of bill submission chat as there always is,
Yeah.
but we can pop that in wherever in between the agenda tonight.
Yes. Um, well, shall we jump into it then?
Yeah, why not?
Go on.
Just jump
Uh,
right in the deep end.
right. In the deep end. What happens after TikTok ban? um, as you may have heard, in fact, I think this conversation even started during or
Oh yeah.
mid campaign that he was planning on banning TikTok because Trump, that is, because he thought that Chinese were spying on him or Americans. I I don't know what the evidence behind that is. I don't know it, but
Yeah,
so that's what he
there's a
thinks.
whole
I'm
thing
sure
behind
there's
that.
research. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's some. I don't know. I just assume if you're using social media, your data's out there. People are spying on you to some extent. Companies are spying on you, and you're being advertised with that information. Advertised to because of the information. So, anyways, he's going to ban TikTok, which is the pretty much the number one social media for at least young people, and it's going to be banned in the US, so we'll still be able to use it.
Oh
But
yeah.
let's there's a wee bit of discourse about what that could mean for us. Um, so the app will basically it will no longer get updates essentially. So
Yes.
any updates that come out of China will not come through, and it's probably not great because if you don't update apps, they tend to have security risks. So
Mm-hmm.
not great. But a lot of young people have already started to look for TikTok alternatives, and the two that they're looking at are also Chinese-owned apps. So
What a
if it was a
surprise.
war on China,
What a
he's
surprise.
failed spectacularly. And some of the things I've heard people say is also the idea that they don't care if they're being spied on as well. And I guess it's that idea of not knowing what they can do with your data or what they might do with their data. And
Mm.
so people are a bit like, and they're young. Like, I'm a little bit more cautious, but if you're young and on the internet, it's probably a little bit less so.
Well, I mean, I don't, to be fair, I don't think a lot of adults understand what these things mean to even teach children how to think critically or like know how to engage with it. I also imagine, with parents often unable to be around all the time, like trying to be able to monitor and manage the interactions kids have on that is going to be also another complicated relationship. So like, yeah, it's definitely not a one like there's one thing that's a problem, one thing's going to help. I imagine it's quite a complicated scenario, really.
Yeah. So I guess I'll run through this wee bit. So how will users be affected? TikTok's 170 million users in the US will likely still be able to use the app because it already downloaded on their phones, experts say. But over time, without software and security updates, the app will become unusable, and that's essentially there'll be no bug fixes. As your phones get updated, there'll be no workarounds with phone updates. The app won't get updated. Things won't start to work. It'll just become an unusable app. Crashes, that sort of thing tends to happen over time. Some users have begun posting TikTok videos instructing others on how to use virtual private networks or VPNs, which mask an internet user's location as a way to circumvent the possible ban. I would love to know whether or not those work or how successful they are.
Oh yeah,
Because I
no, they
know
work
VPNs,
100%. No,
do they work with
it's
apps?
yeah, works with everything because essentially
Oh.
the way a VPN works is that it's if you think about your computer having a mailbox, like an address, it
Hmm.
essentially masks that address. So any of the information that's coming through can't get filtered by any of the regional or, national things that it would normally get routed through. Like it's a whole tech thing, but yes, basically they work, but and I mean, like, let's be real. There's a reason that if you watch a lot of YouTube, I'm sure you've heard of quite at least two VPN companies. I'm not going to say them unless they want to pay us, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure you know the two that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
definitely VPNs work, and they're definitely making a lot of money off these stupid
Well,
things.
They might just start making a little bit more. Content
Mm-hmm.
creators who have built businesses from their TikTok followings are preparing for the worst. Nadia Okamoto, who has 4.1 million followers and founded August. Oh, it's called August. A menstrual products brand said TikTok helped her business grow organically through viral videos. A TikTok ban could force her and other small businesses to spend more on marketing and raise their costs. It's very stressful, she said. If TikTok goes away, we'll be okay, but it is going to be a hard hit. Here's a quick question for the chat. How many of you guys found BHN through TikTok? Because I know Pat was posting on
Me.
there. Um,
It was me.
how
I found them
when?
through TikTok.
A year ago?
Yeah. During the
Yeah, about a
election,
year
that's
ago.
how I discovered them.
Oh, there you
Like, if
go.
it wasn't for the election and TikTok, I wouldn't have come. I might not be here right now.
I'd be interested to see how many people have come. I found it through. Yeah, you go. Calvin says they found it through
Yeah,
TikTok. Peter says
exactly.
he found it through TikTok. Me before I left in Feb. So there you go.
Yeah,
So the
exactly. A
algorithm
lot
is
of this
pretty good.
migrated around. Well, because that's the thing is, I know that boys did notice like a quite an increase around that time.
Yeah.
Because I know Spider Hoof, Jordan Rivers, BHN. That was pretty much my TikTok algorithm during the election.
It found you.
Mm-hmm.
Not someone through Twitter, someone through YouTube. I found through TikTok and YouTube recommended. So yeah, it's pretty strong algorithm. I'd be interested to see what because I would assume I don't use TikTok. I try and stay away from anything that's addictive because otherwise
Yeah, I get
I
it.
hate shorts because they suck me in. So I've like there's a wee thing now that you can say show fewer shorts,
Yes. Yep. Yep.
which
Yep.
I needed that for the longest time because I'd be like, oh, this is interesting because it's just like
Yeah.
a flick, not a flick away, flick to the next one feature, or
Mm,
it got its teeth in me. Um,
yeah.
but something about TikTok I was going to say. Yep,
Yeah. I mean,
give
to
us a
be
thought
fair,
then.
I went down many TikTok rabbit holes. I went through times where I was spending a lot. I don't anymore. I think like I just kind of went through a period of uni where I was just too busy, and honestly, I was watching BHN anyway, so it's like that's like an hour to an hour and a half. That's enough. But I mean, there was also a period of time where that's where a lot of my news came from. Like I think the Loafers Lodge fire here in Wellington that happened. Oh God, I think it was like a couple years ago now. I first found out about that through TikTok. Just open it up on the
Mm.
toilet. Oh shit, like that was my newspaper in the morning. I'd open up
Yeah.
TikTok and I'd be like, it was very news oriented. So
Mm.
it's
Yep.
definitely
It'd
going to have a lot
be
of impact on like a lot of people's businesses. Like there's a reason
yeah.
it was popular or is popular.
Mm. Um, and then there's a wee bit about advertisers, which meh, meh, meh. The impact on us, though. So, the far reaching effects of the app and service bans. Billions of people around the world rely on connectivity and opportunity that an open internet enables. The more countries block or ban specific apps and services, the less the internet can deliver on that promise. Instead, people's experiences online, connecting with friends, learning, creating, earning income, and enjoying entertainment, will become increasingly insular and inconsistent from country to country. Um,
Hmm.
that's what I was going to say. How I would say majority of the content that I receive on most platforms is from America. Do you
I
reckon?
think mine's not. I would say mine's definitely a bit more mixed. Like I'd say when I'm on TikTok, I'd say my algorithms, I'd say definitely got a decent chunk, American content because when you just think about the sheer amount of people that are making stuff about things that I'm interested in, does make sense. But I also follow a
Mm,
lot of people more from like Europe, that kind of area. I also get a lot of, I think to be fair, actually, if it wasn't for TikTok, I wouldn't have kept up to date with a lot of like indigenous news. So like the stuff with the Kanaki people in New
mm,
Caledonia, like even stuff around like when everything in Gaza started like happening in Palestine, like TikTok for me was where I was finding a lot more reliable information. I was one of those people who were watching TikToks of people in Palestine, showing their actual everyday lives. Like, I don't know if you heard about it, but there was this young content creator from Palestine, and like, unfortunately, he died. And, like, it
mm,
was quite difficult when, you're sitting there watching these people go through these horrible things, but you're also like, I can't I can't look away because that's a privilege. I have to actually
Mm,
know that, these are real people. I watched this cute little Palestinian girl who does cooking videos
mm,
using what little resources she has available, just to also probably bring some like happiness to her own life, as
mm.
well, with everything that's going on. Like, there's a lot that's bad about TikTok, don't get me wrong, but there's also a lot that has helped in terms of getting certain pieces of information to places they may not have gotten before about
Mm,
things that are really important. So,
mm.
like, it's one of those things where, yes, it's got a lot of bad things, but I also think a lot of people wouldn't know about a lot of things if it wasn't for TikTok. So, we
I
have to
suppose
at least
social media as
acknowledge
a
that.
whole as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. We don't have to love them as a whole, but we can
Mm,
acknowledge the positive aspects that they, can have, and the like positive tools they can be if we don't
yeah.
keep abusing them.
Mm. I'll read this last wee bit. So, millions of people and businesses rely on the app. In US alone, a TikTok commission study by Oxford Economics found the app contributed more than 24 billion and 200,000 billion dollars and 200,000 jobs to the economy in 2023. So, I mean, taxes
Yeah,
alone is that's
that's
kind of good.
that, and I mean, that's the thing, that's mad money. That is a lot. And I mean,
That
think
is a
about
lot.
it. Like, it makes sense.
That
I'm
is
sure.
4 billion more than our education budget. Fun fact.
Mm, God, imagine if they put all their money into that. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is like, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. I mean, I'm also like, I do actually worry a little bit because I know there are a lot of New Zealanders who have definitely benefited from the ability to kind of, that, like you said, like the algorithm is really good on TikTok. That is one reason why I actually kind of stayed on it this
Mm.
whole time, is because Instagram Reel algorithm, not that good, really. Like, it's okay. It's not that bad. Uh, the YouTube, whatever it is, I don't even bother counting that. Doesn't count. Um, but yeah, TikTok's quite good, and so yeah, it's been interesting, but I guess the real thing will happen is when it actually comes into effect, because yeah, there's been a lot of New Zealanders who've definitely gotten some pretty good boost through
Mm.
the platform, and
Mm.
hopefully it doesn't
And
affect them too much.
yeah,
And
Citizen says
yeah,
if it wasn't TikTok, it would be some other app that fills the gap. If TikTok went away, it would take weeks for the majority of people to have moved on to something else and forgotten about it. Exactly, and that's something. At the end of the article, it said it's a dangerous game of whack a mole. Like you can
mm,
try and get rid of one and the next, and something else will pop up. And it like people are already saying that they're going to move to. I think one's called Lemonade, which I think is actually kind of genius. Chinese owned, and then there was another one as well. They're
Red
currently
Book.
at the top of
Is that Red Book
possibly
one? I've heard
could
about,
be.
yeah, Red Book's one of the ones that
Oh
I've
yeah.
heard about. Um, but yeah, and I mean, to be fair, I saw a comment. Yeah, this one here. I think that's another thing, is that there is actually quite a
Mm,
good community building aspect to, for all of the, it sucks away attention and it can be a brain rot, blah, blah, blah. There is
mm.
also a lot of community building that it can kind of allow for, like, I don't know, BHN
Yeah, but
and
that's
things like
that's on
that.
any platform. I mean, Instagram you can build communities as
Yeah.
well.
But I don't
YouTube
I
you can
didn't
build
see
communities.
BHN on my Instagram algorithm or my
They,
or my Facebook algorithm. It
yeah.
was only TikTok. I didn't see, like Jordan Rivers on my Instagram algorithm.
Mm.
And that's what I said about the algorithm itself, is because the algorithm on TikTok, because they want to keep your attention and they actually, psychologically manipulate us.
Yeah.
But at least they gave me what I actually wanted, and not some horrible, like, I was lucky. I'm lucky. I didn't get some horrible stuff that was just making me feel bad about myself. Well, other than the government, but that's different. Like, there are definitely people who don't get that experience, but I definitely found it to be a lot more beneficial. Like, I don't go on Facebook anymore. I kind of go on Instagram, and I barely go on TikTok.
Yeah, no, I think I'm YouTube and YouTuber. Oh, and Blue Sky.
Oh yeah,
plug our
I'm actually
plug
on
our
there
boys.
now.
Guys.
That's
But
mostly
that's
where
just because
I'm.
I think the first one I really dove into was Twitter when it first came out.
Mm.
Um, oh, Tumblr actually. Let's be fair, I'm a Tumblr kid, but
Oh no.
I loved Tumblr, and actually I still have it up, and I go back through the archives, and I can see tons of art inspiration, and then also photos that I post. I did like one photo a day in 2013 and 14, and so
Oh
I've got an
nice.
entire
That's
year's
cool.
worth of photos, and it's fun to go
Oh,
through them all.
yeah,
Um,
that's cool. And
I
I
miss
do
that.
like
I
that about
miss
social
Tumblr.
media. Well, that's the thing is like
Yeah,
that's why I'll never delete my Facebook because I like seeing most of my Facebook memories, like especially
yeah.
the cute ones with your friends,
My
not the
favorite thing
cringy
is when
ones.
you get the Facebook memories that come up, and then people share their Facebook memory that came up, and then people think it's the first time they've ever seen it, and then they
Yeah,
go, "Oh, I didn't know you started a new job," and then they're like,
yeah, I have seen that
this
before.
is from
Yeah.
6 years ago," and they're like, "Oh," like,
Oh, I see. Move along. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've almost done that myself, to be honest. I've seen the odd post, and I've been like, wait, and I was about to comment something, and I'm like, oh wait, hang on, this is a memory.
Yeah, I think
Trying to fool me.
most of the ones I share, you can tell they're old. The
Yeah.
topic is very nostalgic usually.
Well, I haven't had mine long enough to. I think I
uh,
got rid of mine and then restarted it, which I'm gutted that I did because I think I lost a few photos and things. But
I
um,
think
I'm also kind of glad that I did because my pre-uni era was cringe, as was
yeah,
anyone as a
that's what I mean about mine is
preteen
I've been on
teen.
I've I made my first Facebook account 18 years ago.
Yeah, sounds about right.
My Facebook account could be a whole adult.
Hang on, I'm trying to figure out mine. My Tumblr must be at least 15 years old.
Yeah, that sounds about
So,
right.
not to use it anymore, but that's probably
Yeah.
the account that has the longest living time.
Mm.
Anytime. Anyways. Yeah. So TikTok could be disappearing from the US market, which could have an impact on us. I wouldn't be surprised if it does, because I would say the majority of people probably follow a good number of American
Yeah.
creators, and if they're not posting on that platform, people will turn to other platforms where they are posting. They'll either follow them, or no, they probably would. There'd be a good number
Yeah.
of people that
I
will
mean,
follow
like, I know
into
that
that.
there's been some people who are like, "Oh, well, I'm just gonna take this as maybe some incentive to get off TikTok and touch grass or something." I don't know. So, like, I think there are definitely some young people who are like, "Oh, you know what? Maybe this is the sign. 2025. This is the year that I
Or
do something different."
the other possibility is that it actually boosts local content creators because it replaces those in the American market, which
That would
could
be
be a
cool.
really good. That would be a really good positive for
I
us.
mean, I would love that to happen.
Yeah, so we can focus less on whatever's going on in America, which is
Yeah,
sometimes important.
exactly. Will be interesting to watch.
It will be interesting to watch. We'll see what happens in a week. In fact, we'll see in 5 days.
Ding, ding.
Tick, tick, tick. Let's jump into not our next story, but something I forgot to do at the beginning of the show is to say, would you like to become a patron? You can join us on Patreon if you are interested. Um, your support always helps. And the second one is the BHN store, in which you can get merchandise. I don't know what the situation is currently, but I'm pretty sure with still a number of stickers, because they're still up on the website. If you want to get some buffer stickers, that'd be great. Get some Nikki Noboats, which I'm sure people have started to see around the capital, at least,
Yes.
perhaps.
The capital and Auckland and Dunedin.
Oh, there you go. He's moving
we're,
around.
we're up and down the
And
country.
then we've got packs of I don't know, sticker packs.
Yes. Those are the ones that you want to
Multi-pack?
buy
That's
so
them.
that you can put them everywhere
No.
around where you live and then still have some for yourself. You know? Like
Ooh.
sticker vandalism. That's what I'm about.
No, no,
Well, sorry.
no.
Sticker artwork graffiti or whatever. I don't
Sticker
know.
sharing. Sticker sharing.
Yeah. It's free artwork for the people.
Yes, free artwork for the people. So if you're interested in any of those stickers, you can order those. The other merchandise being the things that you wear, the hoodies and the t-shirts, can't confirm when they will be ready to print and ship. So get your stickers at least.
Hell yeah. Also,
That's my
see, look,
PSA done.
Chewie Scoot agrees with me. She's ordered more exactly that. See, she understands the assignment.
I don't. I'm not playing.
Not endorsed. Not endorsed.
I'm not endorsing. I'm not playing the game. I'm just saying some people like to put stickers in fun places. I
Yes, they do.
perhaps am not one of those people. In fact, I haven't yet found a place for half of my stickers. I did give them away though to someone. So that was
Yeah,
good.
I mean, you can always ask for permission. Like I went and asked for permission
That's
to put
true.
them in places.
That's
You
true.
remember? I did that. I also did in
I
some
was
places, but that was different.
Alrighty, let's get into the next story, shall we?
Do it. Otherwise, I'm just going to convince people to buy stickers to put around town. Like, stop me.
How do I? What's going on?
Do you want me to pop it up?
No, I just need to.
Post and responding.
Oh, there we go. Another thing that came into the news today was our favorite person, Andrew Tate. Oh, and look, Elon Musk. They're all on there. They're all on there together. Yay!
Oh no! Help!
Ben Shapiro is a right wing pundit. He's all about being a conservative. He's a conservative. Pretty sure he's pretty openly. He's Jew. He's a Jewish man. He's a yes.
Yes, he is.
Don't love most of what comes out of his mouth. Today, I might take that back.
Wow, I mean,
most of what comes out of his mouth, I don't like. This I can get with maybe what's going on. He does not have nice things about to say about Andrew Tate, and also Andrew Tate thinks that he can be Britain's Britain's new prime minister. So we'll watch a wee bit of this to give some context about what I'm on about.
Positively to post about him. And that also notably coming after Tate has suggested he has political ambitions, running a poll asking, should I enter politics and run for Prime Minister of the UK? And even though that's not quite how electing a PM works over there, the option, yes, Save Britain, spelled incorrectly, did win. And while with that, that post wasn't taken too seriously by non-supporters, that it wasn't covered by tons of mainstream outlets, just today you did have The Guardian publishing an opinion piece saying that while his efforts look like a publicity stunt, it's important not to write off Tate's political ambitions as meaningless attention seek, adding it's highly unlikely Tate will ever be prime minister, sure, but trolls like him already have an oversized role in politics and their influence seems only to be growing. Which then brings us to people in conservative media who are taking Tate's influence seriously and they're now pushing back against the right's decision to embrace it. For example, Ben Shapiro yesterday posting a video titled, "The Right Should Dump Andrew Tate," with Shapiro there listing out the trafficking and assault allegations that have been made against Tate and arguing against the conservative platforming that he's received thus far. Or with him saying that he has no problem with conservative hosts interviewing Andrew Tate, saying there's nothing wrong with that in theory, but in practice, no one is asking him the right questions.
He rips off thousands of people with his scam Hustlers University. He preaches the virtue of treating women in a way you would never, ever...
Wait, so I think we've had the discussion before. Is not interviewing, is interviewing someone not also platforming them?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing is you kind of have to take a little bit of critical analysis, I think, at times. There are some times where a conversation, when you weigh up the pros and cons, when you weigh up what it might be about, when you weigh up maybe platforms, whether it's actually going to reach who it might need to reach, they can be considered. I do think there is sometimes room where those things can be considered. But, I mean, Let's be honest,
Because-
those right-wing guys have just been taking the fucking piss.
But this is the thing with Joe Rogan, for example. Joe Rogan, sure, he's had people on both sides of the thing. Lex Friedman famously is exactly the same. He claims that he's in the middle and he talks to everyone, which has its own issues. And he tries. Well, I mean, you can't be truly center, but you can interview people on either side. But I don't think you can ever be truly center, which he claims to be.
Oh,
I don't mind the guy though; he's kind of interesting. But I feel like that's half the problem with what happened with Trump, right? Is that we platformed him so much that he was able to get into people's minds because it was 24/7 Trump drama, Trump rhetoric, and it did start to I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, and
gel with people.
That's where you do have to be a bit careful. But I mean, I'll be honest, I just think it's ironic that Ben Shapiro, of all people, is trying to criticize Andrew Tate for the way he treats women. When this man,
he seems to think that he's on the far better side. So
I mean, this is a man who doesn't think his wife's vagina should get wet. I'm sorry that you don't know how sex works, my guy. If she's not into it then. And then you got some other problems, bro. Fucking hell.
Well, let's see what he has to say about the way that Andrew Tate treats
him. Allowed with his scam hustle.
In theory, but in practice, no one is asking him the right questions.
He rips off thousands of people with his Scam Hustlers University. He preaches the virtue of treating women in a way you would never, ever allow anyone to treat your wife or your daughter. No one is saying you can't have Andrew Tate on your show. It's a free country. You should do what you want. What I'm saying is that if you say you're conservative and then you have someone who truly is disgusting on and you proceed to tout them, praise them, nod along to everything they say, cheer them, you're doing more than platforming.
You have Shapiro saying there's a line between having a conversation with someone and becoming a means to spread their propaganda, with him then further arguing that Tate's persona, it doesn't even actually fall in line with conservative ideas, saying that even though Tate is seen as a champion of masculinity
has good iterations and it also has really, really ugly iterations. And the iteration that Andrew Tate pushes is not a responsible masculinity.
With him then adding that just because someone is anti-left, that doesn't make them a sustainable conservative figurehead. And this, as Shapiro noted himself, that he is not the only conservative to call Tate out. And actually, if you go to his comments, you have
I'll stop it there. But the thing that I came out of this with, especially just Ben Shapiro himself, is that he and probably a lot of people on the right seem to have a very narrow view, and they're like purists and very dogmatic about their labels, right? He's like, I'm a conservative. This is what true conservative values are. And you have to stick within this box of conservatism. And if you go anywhere, either side of it, you're no longer a conservative. You know, you're conservative-ish. You have conservative views, but you are not a conservative, right?
Oh yeah. No, they're very inflexible, but they also use it to their advantage because this is only when it works for their narrative at the time, because they also completely flout those rules when it doesn't apply to them. So, like, yeah.
And the other thing I came away with, and because he's talking about, actually no, that's never mind. I was going to say something about being anti-left, but I can't remember what I was going to say. Yeah. What did you think, Magenta? Any thoughts on that?
I mean, I just think...
Is he now a slightly better guy because he doesn't like Tate?
No, that he's just someone who's now... Well, that's the thing. They won the election, so now he needs some other target. He had Kamala and all of the, Democrats during the election, but now they've won, so he's bored and he's got to make content because he's a right-wing grifter. That's all he's ever fucking been. So now he's just moved to Tate because now he can start doing that thing that a lot of conservatives, and actually, no, I'm not even going to say conservatives because lefties are fucking terrible for it too. We can sometimes hold each other to too rigid of a standard at times and not allow for some nuance or some compromise at times where sometimes maybe we should. And that being said, that can be a difficult conversation to have. And, it can be difficult to try to synthesize what is a good compromise. But that being said, we all do it. I'd just say the right are really fucking bad for it because it also aligns with a lot of, how they've grown up, a lot of religious practices, especially monotheistic religious practices, have a lot more of that kind of thing of you're told what you are told and you believe that. And if anything goes outside of that, then we can start picking and choosing how, just the way that the Bible has been abused and used to be like, oh, well, we're just going to take these bits and use them against these people because we don't like them. But then we're also not going to uphold the good parts as well. Oh, and that's so true, though.
Two sides of the same coin, right?
Yeah, it's just the same rot, but in different flavors. And now they're just attacking each other. It's just infighting.
Yeah. Do you think the left does it too? Do you think that
we're terrible for it. We're so bad for it. I'd say sometimes we're worse at it. Especially as someone who's been in the queer community for a long time, we've had some issues. And
that's what I was going to ask you, because so I guess what it comes back to is like the whole angry feminist thing, right? It started to feminism, and it's kind of, I don't know, when that was probably 2010-ish, or even well before that, you kind of got the idea of like angry feminists.
Yeah.
And there was only really one way to be a feminist, and it was so
I'd say it was peaking around,
aggressive.
it was started like 2010, was peaking around, I'd even say 2017, 2018. It was still quite phenomenal.
Yeah, and I think that pushed a lot of people out because they were like, I don't want to be associated with all this angry feminist BS. And I totally agree with what you're saying, like equality for women, but for all people, I guess. But I don't exactly like the way that you're going about it. And I feel like the experience that I had probably through that same period of, like, I guess the Tumblr period, was that a lot of the LGBT community found a space in which they were all kind of emboldened by each other and were able to discuss these things at a free space. And then that got really toxic because people were like, no, these are the pronouns you can use. No, these are the pronouns you can use.
That's
no,
why
I'm a pansexual. No, I'm a demisexual. There's a difference. Like, you can be this and that. And it became really like
the bi-pan rhetoric. I'll be honest, I was a sucker to it at one point in my life because I too have been problematic in the past. But
it was one of those things as well of like, oh, I finally found my people and we have a voice. Let's rise up and say something. But then it became so siloed within itself that it was, I think, and people like myself who were like on the fringes of it are like, oh yeah, I understand what the sentiment is, but I don't understand what's going on, and I can't help you because it's not clear in my mind.
It's because they're not having an actual conversation. They're having an argument. That's what a lot of those things boils down to, is that people aren't trying to listen to each other. They're trying to argue and come back with what they already pre-prepare a lot of the times what they want to say and what they've already decided. They're just waiting for the person to reply to their comment so that they can just keep, piling into what they were already planning to say. I think a lot of the time it's because a lot of these conversations haven't been had in ways that have allowed for, a bit of, oh, okay, I don't quite understand. Can you please help me understand your perspective? Most people are often just so stuck in their own perspective that, there can be miscommunications. There can be just a lot of, I just see it happen in so many communities. It's not even like, the queer community. I see it happen in the Māori community. We have a lot of fucking issues as well in times, especially growing up when I was younger. Like there was a lot, it's changed a lot now, but when I was younger, being as pale as I am, I often got told, well, you're not Māori, blah, blah, blah. Like there was heaps of that stuff. It happens because humans just have this thing where we like to create our little groups. And then because it makes us feel stronger in our community, we often like to try to like fight with each other. And then like we keep having to find new people to fight with. And then we start running out. So we start getting closer and closer. Like,
in terms of like Treaty Principles Bill, right? It completely dominated the media sphere over the last. It probably will continue to for the next year. There was an attempt to have a nuanced discussion. I mean, the working group at times did try and have a genuine discussion with some of the people on either side. Is it one of those things that there was no understanding in between? Or do you think either side or both sides could have come to a better place of listening and understanding both points of view?
I mean,
or do you think
obviously,
there really is only one right point of view in that discussion?
see, I think the thing is there is definitely an aspect where, okay, so like let's just really reduce it down to left and right because it just makes my life easier. I think the left, definitely, we have some stuff that, you know, it's hard. We have a difficult position where a lot of the time we're actually just kind of fighting for some really common sense, human focused things. So we can get quite upset when we have to bash our heads against brick walls trying to ask for basic humanity. And I think that that unfortunately can sometimes make us unwilling to listen at times. So yes, that is definitely some problems we have. And we have our infighting, we have our gatekeeping. We also haven't, as a, you know, more left side, really come together and kind of decided how we might compromise our different wants. You know, we don't have a coherent, like a fully coherent vision yet, really. But then I think the problem for me was I don't know if the right were ever willing to listen. I don't know if they were ever willing to compromise with us. So that's where I'm not sure, because I personally feel like with a lot of the things that, because it's very staunch black and white thinking of no, it has to be this conservative or whatever, and half the time they don't even know as well. They're black and white on their own thing, but as a whole they're a fucking mess too. So yeah, it's a lot of messiness. It's a lot of people not really being able to figure out ways to have conversations, and it's also people having different ideals. I mean, when you have to pick profit over people and people pick profit, like, I don't know, I personally will always think that the person who picks profit is in the wrong. So I guess in some ways I do think that maybe there's a slightly more right side. I just, yeah, it's nuanced.
I think the issue with something like the Treaty Principles Bill is that it came from one person's ideological view of how things should be, and it was pushed by one party's ideological views of how the country should be run. And their 8% votes had far too much influence on the way that the country is run. And something like the treaty is founding. It's a document that has an influence on everything that happens in this country. And that's, I think, where it was wrong for him to even David, to even come up with it, because it's such a nuanced thing and so pivotal. It really should come from the people that know best to have those nuanced discussions. Like,
or even if it doesn't come from us, it was supposed to be decided together, right? You got two signatories. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. If you say, okay, let's pretend that David and the ACT Party are representing the Crown, because let's be real, we might as well be. Because then where was the other signatory when they made that bill? End of story. Doesn't matter. That other signatory was not included, so therefore we shouldn't have had that bill start to begin with. Like, if you want to do that bill, do it with your signatory, or don't do it at all.
No, I think that pretty much sums it up, I think, is that there was no sides to that debate, because the debate should not have happened in the first place. The bill should never have been drafted in the first place, because it wasn't drafted on the correct terms. And the whole point of the things like the Waitangi Tribunal, the courts, the judicial system in general, lawmakers, the reason that they all come together to make and to interpret Te Tiriti is because it is nuanced. It's all nuanced. It's not a, here are some things that we've defined, vote on it, and that's forever how we're going to move forward. It's a constant thing of nuance and discussion. And
and I mean, to be fair, like, even when it comes to the tribunal, if we want to have a real conversation, maybe we should actually have a conversation about giving the tribunal the powers it actually should have. Because at this point, it's still tokenistic. And yes, it's better than fucking nothing. And I'm thankful that we have it. But at the end of the day, it is not serving what it should be serving. And when you go back into the history of, like, the Waitangi Tribunal and the way that, like, the way they actually even set up Māori land court stuff, the way they actually they purposely made it prohibitive for Māori because you had to physically be at the land court. You didn't know whether you were being summoned or not. And imagine living, potentially in Wellington, you've got to go to, say, Auckland kind of distance. What if you don't have a car back then? Because that land court started a long fucking time ago. People would have to literally uproot their lives and go and camp out by the land court for weeks. Because if they missed that date, they missed out. So tell me how that was fair. Maybe let's go back to those things and actually make those more fair. And then we can talk about this other stuff. There's no point in talking about the principles of the treaty until we've actually honored it to begin with. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting discussion. We'll go from Ben Shapiro to the treaty. It's There's always some way to bring it home, right?
That's all right. I'd rather not talk about him any longer than I have to. Goblin
No, it'd be interesting to see the other part that was talked about in this particular video discussion. Thanks, Philly D. Was talking about how... Oh.
If you're interested, there are pictures of what I talked about.
There you go. But yeah, but there's a ton of infighting, but I guess it comes down to the fact that they're very siloed in their... I don't ever want to be someone who's dogmatic in my approach to anything, and I do have a set of ethics and morals in which I view the world, but I would hope that I don't become so ingrained in my particulars that I can't listen to other people's, or at least understand other people. I can understand other people's points of views and the way that they see the world. And a lot of times, if it's only affecting themselves and not affecting others, you can believe in aliens. You can live your entire life believing in aliens and build your life around it. But that can be it doesn't, as long as you're not hurting me. I don't care what you think.
Yeah.
If you and your partner are we're not having sex before marriage. This is our thing. This is our religious beliefs. You do you. It doesn't affect you. I don't care.
Yeah.
But when it starts to be of I'm going to change the way that the country's run, or I'm going to do something or put something into law which is going to affect everyone in every facet of your life. That's where I'm no, don't do that.
Yeah. Nah. I know that's the thing is, I think the thing is, as long as you practice positionality and critical thinking and just make sure that you're constantly doing the work, because that's the other thing too, is that working on yourself and trying to be a good person is not something that you just do passively. Trying to be a better person every day, trying to actually be a kind person to others is something that you have to work on all the time. And sometimes we get really bad at it because we get overwhelmed and we need to take a moment. But, you can always keep trying again and just going, okay, maybe, maybe I need to work on that. If you catch yourself sometimes, sometimes that happens.
Yep. Or admitting when you've done something wrong or said something wrong, or I will say things, but I try not to say things in absolutes. That's my way of living, is I don't know. I can't say in absolutes. That's the way I want to do things. Unless it's something I truly believe in, then I will be a little bit more dogmatic about it. But when it comes to facts and interpreting...
There's definitely some hardline ethics. Hardline ethics, but, there's some definitely flexibility everywhere else.
Yeah. I'm not going to be I am a feminist, and so I am dogmatic in my feminism, and everything is colored by the feminism lens. It's more I believe in the ideas of feminism. I believe that there are good things about feminism. I don't necessarily believe that everyone who believes in it and acts upon it does it in good faith. And
people can be bad feminists. That happens. People can be
just
bad.
You can be bad queer people. You can be bad Christians. You can be good Christians. You can be many things. People are not black and white. Nothing is black and white.
None of us are a monolith. Crazy. Wild. Did you want me to bring up the post that I wanted to talk about to move into?
Yeah, go on.
All right, let me just share my screen. Oof. All right. So as we mentioned earlier, we got more bills coming, guys. So with the stalking and harassment bill, if you are in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, tomorrow at 6 p.m., Auckland Women's Centre, they have an info evening about the bill. So we're getting our first ever law against stalking and harassment, which, like, when you think about that, that's quite crazy that we're only just getting this in 2025. But I guess, women got the right to vote back in the 1800s. So yeah, that feels fast enough. That feels fast enough. But yeah, so submissions are open till February 13th. So I figured if we could maybe start, talking about it now, being aware of this one a bit early, because I think this is definitely going to be an important one. And yes, I've just seen a comment. We don't have laws for stalking and harassment. Yes, we don't, and that is why. Actually, I'll open up the actual thing itself. But yeah, I mean, it is insanity that that's happening. But yeah, in Auckland, they're having just a discussion about the bill, what should be in it, what's its strengths, its limitations. I really wish that I was in Tamaki, because I would love to go to this. So if anyone in the Discord is going to this, please, if you've got notes, please share them in the Discord. And obviously, given what it's about, please bear in mind that if you go to this event, that there'll be conversations that are quite triggering. So, but obviously still very important kōrero to be had. And that's obviously another reason why I thought, we do have to start talking about this. And, I'm not sure about yourself, Ems, but I have definitely had my fair share of instances with stalking and harassment. So I am quite keen for this bill.
I have not, funnily enough.
I love that. No, you know what? That's actually awesome. I love that. Do not make that face. I fucking love that.
There's only been one instance where I literally feared for my life and I had no idea what was happening. So I used to have 6 a.m. figure skating sessions, and when I was at university, and the bus stop I had to get to I had to go through a park. And the park really doesn't have any lightings, but it's a straight through line. Otherwise, I have to go around, and it takes about an extra 10 minutes. And this one morning, I was walking. It was still pitch black, and there was this guy walking ahead of me. And I try and usually, there are things that you do as a female that are just instinctive. Like, I don't trust whatever this person's doing. It come from a place of defensiveness as opposed to like, oh, it'll be fine. So I kind of made myself quite quiet with my footsteps. And then this guy kind of veers off the path and just like stands under the shadow of a tree.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And doesn't move. And I'm like, my bus is coming. What is he doing?
Yeah.
And so I literally stop, panic, and I'm like, oh, there's only one way through this. Started veering off to like go the other way across the grass. And as soon as I came within running distance of him, I just shot for the bus, and that is the most terrified I've ever been in my life.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that shouldn't have to happen, but it is so common. And that's why I'm like excited for this bill, because like I don't even think I can count the amount of times that I've had to worry about these things. Like, I have literally been at work and had to get security guards to like remove people. Actually, I went to have a cry at the waterfront, right? I was having a day. Things were not good. I just wanted to have a cry by the water.
Yeah.
You know what? I had to cut my cry short because some guy started conveniently walking back and forth past me about 4 times within about the span of maybe 30 minutes. And I went to move to have my cry somewhere else. Guess who fucking turned up? So I went home.
Fair enough.
I couldn't even cry in peace.
Yeah. I don't think of I can't think of anything that's come to mind, but regardless, like I'm not
I
I'm
don't want you to
probably
be
the
able to bring
exception.
too much
I'm
to
the
freaking
exception.
mind.
I'm the exception, not the rule. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, because like this is for anyone who's interested. Obviously, you know where to find them, but like, it's gonna create stalking and harassment offence in the Crimes Act because this one's technically a crimes bill. So, it's going to introduce, different factors, because that's the other thing too, is that because we have, they're going to expand the definition of psychological abuse to include stalking, because obviously, this kind of behavior has just only been increasing, especially when you consider like the internet of it all. The ability to harass and stalk is now like greater than ever. And so it's quite important to make sure that, we definitely do a bit more looking into this, talking about it. And yeah, I mean, I can think of so many people I know who have had issues with this stuff, and it's bullshit. It's just bullshit. And it's not even just like, women, like queer people have a lot of issues with these things, Like the queer community deal with this shit so much.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like, and then God, add on being a queer woman or a queer trans woman. Oh my God.
And the rhetoric that comes with the
Oh,
ideas
and
that get
that's the
peddled around
thing.
there, and bathrooms and God knows what else. So.
Oh, exactly. And then it just becomes so much worse. And so,
I saw this by Peter. I've always been conscious of being a fairly large man, so I back off and check my phone or across the street from a woman who might be nervous by my presence. Good on
Thank
you, and thank you. But it is really sad that you have to do that.
But I'm actually, no, it's not even sad. I'm just glad that you're actually taking you're doing the things. You're like, that's the kind of behavior, the buffer behavior that we need. Because you know what? When people do stuff like that, it does help. When there are women who are worried. Yeah, when there are people who, not even just women, when there are people who are worried, if they're like, oh, okay, you're not doing some weird, creepy stuff, it does help,
Yeah.
Like, I love the memes that I've seen on TikTok of like gay men being like me walking past a woman in the forest, like, hey girl, hope you're having a great walk, just to like make her feel more comfortable. And I love it. I think it's great. It brings a little lightness to a really dark situation.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to having more discussions about that.
Yeah,
because
no,
it'd be
we'll
interesting
definitely.
to see if there's anything that comes out. The only thing I can think of that is more recent was the murder of I believe she was murdered after she did report stalking, but it wasn't enough to be considered. And I think it was by the third harassment. I think she was murdered, which is really sad.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think like which one, because my brain's like, oh, there's been so many over the years. Like,
it's not a good thing.
I can still
it came
think
out.
of many of them.
I'm not sure if it happened later last year, but I'm pretty sure the sentencing was perhaps later last year.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if
I can't
that's
think what it was.
something that's been pushing, like they've been using to push this bill, because that's the thing is that I can think of instances probably from well over the last 15 years at minimum of women getting harassed by men and them asking for help, and the cops going, I can't do much about it, especially when it comes to the online and the like, digital side of it as well. Like, the amount of times people get the most threatening messages and harassment beyond belief, and then also have these people turning up places as well. But that's still not enough. Like, it's insane that they basically have to actually assault you physically for them to intervene.
The one I'm thinking of was this one. It happened in 2022. Fazana Yaqibi. She initially complained to the police via the 105 online reporting system 2 months earlier, identifying her stalker and providing messages the man was sending her, including one with he threatened to throw acid on her face. A report by the police watchdog says the law student later updated her complaint, saying she feared for her life. She made a formal statement at the police station December 2022. and then 2 weeks later she was stabbed when she got off the bus. That's awful.
Yeah, that's fucking horrible. And that's the thing.
The fact that
is,
she
like,
even reported it, but nothing happened to it.
Yeah, and look what happened. She tried to, and that's the thing is, she went to the place. You're told if you have trouble, go to the police, and then people go to the police and they get no help because the police are arresting a boy on Christmas Day for a fucking boxing bloody t-shirt. Like, it's infuriating.
Fun times. Do you want to talk about something even more exciting?
Sure.
The world is burning.
Oh, that's right. I forgot we're still on
Don't
fire.
forget that the world is burning. I'm going to try and spin this in a slightly more positive light.
Yes, if you can.
Essentially, LA is burning, and as are we. And I think
Solidarity.
there is a bit of discussion going around, especially with the insurance situation, whether or not we'll start to see the same things happening here, where we will find it harder and harder to be insured, especially in wildfire-prone areas. So climate change is loading the dice in the favor of fire in some of the hottest and driest places, and researchers say that New Zealand's dry regions, like the East Coast and Otago areas, are no exception. One 2022 study found that as greenhouse gases build up in the atmosphere, parts of New Zealand could experience very extreme wildfire weather conditions that they do not experience today, matching the levels seen during Australia's Black Summer bushfires in 2019 and 2020. Wildfire and ecology researcher Dr. Nicola Day, a senior lecturer at Victoria University of Wellington, said it was time to prepare for the kinds of conditions that were commonly associated with our hot, dry neighbour. The modelling suggests that in the next decades we will have a climate that's sort of similar to Australia, which is kind of alarming for us because we have not really had to think about fire a lot. In the north, for sure. In the south, Canterbury, we've always had to think about it, but perhaps it's more so we need to think about it even more. So expected pattern is dry areas getting drier and wet areas getting wetter as average temperatures climb. So I guess hotter down here, probably warmer up there for you, wetter up there for you guys.
Well, it also depends because there are parts of the north, like we're a patchy little island.
Yeah, we've got a bit of everything.
And we've got a desert in the middle of it, remember? It's a desert with snow, but it is a desert.
Then there's the cost of the rebuild from fire. California's insurance industry is bracing for what could be its costliest ever fire. Insurance and climate researcher Belinda Story said that, like some homeowners in LA, some New Zealanders will likely see insurance withdrawn as fire risk grows. Last year, one of their insurers pulled out of LA's Pacific Palisades by a significant number of policies, and it's very likely that a chunk of those houses have now been hit this year. There are locations in New Zealand where the fire hazard is already threatening communities, and those will be the ones where insurance may become harder to get. Port Hills comes to mind.
Yeah.
While New Zealand's fastest changing insurance risk is coastal floods, Story said fires will be likely the second. To give you some insight on what that 2022 study found in regards to what's going to happen to New Zealand. I love this. They did a plain language summary.
Hell yeah.
Love me a plain language summary. Combining highly detailed climate situations with daily observations of weather and wildfire conditions, we simulate New Zealand's current and future wildfire weather conditions. We find that wildfire weather conditions will increase on average, both in wildfire season length and in the intensity of fires that may take hold, with the most severe wildfire dangers in the central South Island areas of the South Island, central South inland areas of the South Island. We find the wildfire weather conditions will become noticeably worse for many regions than current conditions. For the first time, we find that very extreme conditions that led to the devastating 2019-2020 Black Summer fires in Australia can occur in Aotearoa every 3 to 20 years. In in every 3 to 20 years for areas of the South Island, so Mackenzie Country, Upper Otago, and Marlborough. Our findings have important implications for communities near pine forests, the government's tree planting plan to tackle climate change, and financial investment stored in plantation forests. And one of the things I talked about here was just in general is about green belts. And then I was like, the idea of like low flammability gardens. And I was like, what is a low flammability garden, or like what classifies a low flammability plant? Essentially, it's one that yes, high water content, and there is actually a lot of vegetation, native forestry here in New Zealand that is quite good at harboring moisture, or keeping lots of moisture.
Yep.
So one approach is to reducing wildfire spread is to plant green fire breaks, strips of vegetation made up of plants with low flammability. Green fire breaks are based on the idea that this less flammable vegetation will extinguish a fire or embers spotting ahead of a fire front. Green fire breaks also serve another purpose. If comprised of native species, they can improve biodiversity and provide ecosystem services. They're also often more aesthetically pleasing than fire breaks of bare earth or lawn grass, which is nice. There was somewhere that said, oh yeah, and they did a little burning thing. They say, yeah, one key factor is moisture content. Plants with moisture leaves are less likely to ignite and don't burn as readily. Hence, it helps to keep your plants well watered when fires threaten. Some plants retain dead leaves and branches that provide ready fuel during a fire. Therefore, pruning and dead limbs is a good way to reduce the fire risk around your home. While we're increasing our understanding of plant flammability, many questions remain. For instance, we have been testing plant shoots, but do whole plants burn differently? Under what climate conditions does a low flammability species become a readily burning fuel? What happens when you burn low and high flammability species together? What risk do highly flammable weed species pose when they invade New Zealand areas? So I think there was a bit of a fun little science experiment. They threw them on the Barbie, which is great. But something to think about if you're able to plant your own plants around your home, and you are in sort of a susceptible area that does get quite... Yes, don't plant manukas. That was one of the ones I read. Don't plant manukas. And pine. The stuff that comes off pine, or
the needles,
needles and stuff, it's all very highly flammable.
Well, and I mean, any if you've got like an evergreen tree, because any tree that's deciduous is obviously going to drop a bunch of dry things. To be fair, I knew that because as a child, I used to try setting fire to a lot of things, and that included anything in my backyard. And I learned real quickly, it is really hard to set like greenery on fire. So that's how I learned. But maybe everyone else didn't do that.
Yeah. But yeah, have a look into it. I think the thing to, I would say most of us are aware of it at this point, but pine forests are the biggest concern. And unfortunately, we have a lot of pine forests here in New Zealand. We use a lot of pine, so we grow a lot of pine, and they are not native pines, I don't believe. Do we have native pines?
I don't know, but I also know that there's an issue with that because, like, I don't know if you saw, was it Patty Gower? I think might have covered it with all the slash and stuff as well. That's also, I guess so. But I think there's definitely also other issues with them as well, where we have like a lot of issues of like the debris and shit getting left places and then washed into rivers, and like people getting hurt as well because there's like whole ass logs that get left behind. So like also we're making all these trees, cutting them down and not even taking all of them. That's actually true. That may be true because I am not sure because I don't know what tōtara would be. I'm not like that much of a tree person. But I mean, there are definitely, and that's the thing is like we also don't realize that a lot of this country used to be swampland. So, like, we used to have a lot of moisture because guess what? The earth kind of knew what it needed. And then we went, well, the colonizers, they went, nah. And they went, no, let's like change a bunch of shit because we want to like do all this other stuff. And the amount of farmland that used to be swamp or, I mean, a lot of Wellington, you know, it's been manufactured. There's heaps of places that have done that too. And that has flow-on effects. Because obviously we've gone and changed it, taken out, you know, those plants that were obviously needed for that moisture. Ah, yes, you're right.
Yep, and I was just reading down here as well. It did say that pine was one of the ones that was highly flammable. 2 species, silver beech and remu, had much higher flammability in our tests.
Yeah, and I agree with this. Make swamps great again. Like, all of the Waikato used to be a swamp.
Yeah.
Like we used to have so many swamps because they just were needed.
So I guess the PSA for me is if you're able to change the landscape of your home and you're in a fire-prone fire risk, or even if you're not, just consider whether or not you could plant some natives and start to build your own little green belt around you. The other thing too is that
stuff grows easy.
What's that?
Some kawa going. That stuff grows real easy.
Oh, there you go.
It's like a waxy leaf too, so it's hard to burn.
Oh yeah. We're good. That stuff grows.
Yeah,
everywhere. The Piper excelsum. Piper excelsum. Also known as the Macropiper excelsum.
Oh, right. Yes.
Of the pepper family, the Pepperaceae. CEA. I love the CEAEs. Anyway.
I don't try to pronounce
that.
But yeah. Everyone agrees. You know, waxy leaves.
Grow your green belt. Z? With an S.
It was
end,
definitely
right?
with an S.
Yeah, there was definitely an S on the end, right? Yeah.
They obviously just accidentally hit enter before they finished the letter. I do that all the time. Oh, Corfai, I do love. And actually, I mean, to be fair, we have so many beautiful natives like Pohutukawa. I mean, although they do have the little needles, so maybe those aren't good because I guess those little needles probably aren't great when they fall off. But
I mean, you could do the barbecue test, right? Just cut some up, throw it in the barbie, and see how well it burns. But I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying.
Or you pick them up and you make tea because apparently you can make Pohutukawa tea. I still am yet to do it, but
there you go. But yeah, something to think about.
Yeah.
But fire spreads, so you could be the buffer. You could be the buffer.
The buffer.
Your home and the next home.
Get a moist buffer zone going.
Not a moist buffer zone. No.
All right, I think.
Oh dear. All right, have you got any super chats?
Yeah, we got Q Burb for $2. Blame climate change? Nah, blame gay people. And it doesn't matter what we're talking about because we can just say that anytime. It'll probably happen. I was making so many jokes earlier about that whole lesbian firefighter thing of just like, wait, so if the gays are the reason we have climate change and the gays are the reason we can't fight the fire, man, it really is our fault, I guess.
Blame you for everything.
Right? We got Ian Fraser for $5. The definitions are irrelevant. I'm sorry. It's fallout from Trump's populist rhetoric. Divide and blame them for failing social infrastructure.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. I don't really know when that one came in, what we were talking about, but
we were talking about dogmatic
issues.
conservatism.
Oh yeah, the dog dash, right. Oh, yeah. I did see one comment, a couple of comments that I highlighted from earlier that we'll just quickly pop into is just kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier is that just a reminder that stalking can also involve
Oh.
spying, and there are many ways that and that's I've heard of things like this happening, or like, you know, you go to a rental,
Oh,
and it
Airbnb.
turns out they've got like cameras behind mirrors and or in light bulbs, and you know, you'd be, and that's the thing is, because the problem is that with stalkers, they are unhinged. So it's unhinged behavior, and we have to try to find a way to deal with the unhinged behavior. And also, someone pointed out the submission closes the day before Valentine's Day, but I would like
Coincidence? I think not.
But that's the thing, is we also have to point out is that stalking and harassment can happen within relationships. It's not just strangers. It can be family members. It can be spouses, partners, cousins, anyone. Anyone can be a stalker and unhinged. It like doesn't stop just because it's a cute little day about, I don't know, being in a relationship or something. And like, you know, you get things like this. Someone was, you know, had their security cameras and their emails hacked. Like, imagine that happening to you, and you go to the police and they're just like, I can't do anything about that.
That's one of the things I'm worried about having like a smart home is...
Oh, I would never have a smart home. Fuck that.
Like, I love the idea of being like, Alexa, turn the lights on. But the idea that someone could hack those and see everything, that creeps me out.
Dude, I unplugged my webcam the second we're done. No.
Yeah. Mine's
And
always
also, like,
unplugged.
what happens if you have a smart home and then, like, the internet goes out, or the, like, power goes out, and now I can't use my house properly?
That's true. That's it. You don't you want 24/7 cameras uploaded for Elon to watch? No, I don't.
I really? Oh God, he's the last person I want watching me. Freak.
All right. Well, it's been a fun one. We managed to make a very slow news day into a very interesting show. So let's hope for something a little bit more interesting in terms of New Zealand news. The only other thing I could find tonight was NCEA results are out.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Did the kids pass?
It was literally a headline. It was, hey, your exam results are out. And
Oh,
was like
they
3
didn't say if they
paragraphs, and
passed,
that was
though.
it.
Okay. Oh, okay. They didn't
No,
actually
it
say
was just
anything
the results are out. Here's the results from last year.
else. Oh, okay.
Cool. Thanks, Slow News Day.
Man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, shit must be slow in the newsroom.
Yeah, it was so back to fires and
Oh,
Andrew
to be fair,
Tate.
I would prefer we didn't have to talk about the country being on fire, since it's not the only place. I actually was almost tempted. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow, and we can look at it tomorrow. I was almost tempted to just do a little map so we can see where all the fire articles are in New Zealand. a little visual.
See where things are at. All right. Well, shall we end out the show?
Yeah, well, let's do it. I've ranted enough. I went on a conspiracy theory rant against smart homes, so we're good.
Well, I can't find the thing, which is very helpful, isn't
no.
it? Here it is. All right. Let's play out the show, baby.
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we
Just to Citizen Gold, yes, there will be a Friday show, and it will just be Magenta.
Yes,
But,
it will be me and maybe
absolutely.
a Chewie and a special guest host. And no, it's not the cat. The cat is not the guest.
Otherwise, in the meantime, we will see you guys tomorrow night at 9 p.m. for another episode of Akira News.
will.
We go.
Nah, just stay safe, be good, try not to be a dick, and if you are, say sorry, I guess.
All right, catch you guys tomorrow.
Keep cool till after school, everyone. Bye.
Good night.